The Shining, Children of the Corn, Poltergeist, Orphan, and The Exorcist are all terrifying movies, but what do they all have in common? Children. Children are creepy. And today we're going to be talking about two urban legends that prove this fact.
Poor children.
Hey Wanderers, welcome back to another Foolish Wanderers podcast, the podcast about anything and everything. Today we are going to be continuing Spooktober with the theme of children are creepy because there are some terrifying children. And we're going to talk about some different examples today. Are you excited, Kendra?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, how excited can I be for the thesis that children are creepy?
Yeah, that's fair. There's like a trend on TikTok of like where people like will share like something that their kid has done that's like really upsetting, and people in the comments will be like, "This was my free birth control, thank you." Alrighty, so today we are going to start with the tale of the green children of Woolpit. Kendra, you said you might have heard of this one?
I think so, maybe.
Okay.
I might have heard this on a podcast. I don't really remember.
Fair enough. Yeah, I just came across this on TikTok, of course, the other day, and I thought it was interesting. And like, it's not the creepiest, but like the thought of it is kind of creepy. So that's why I threw it in here. All right. So the legend of the Green Children of Woolpit starts during the reign of King Stephen, in a rather tumultuous time in England's history, lovingly called the Anarchy during the mid-12th century. So Woolpit, or in Old English, Wolf Pit, is an ancient village in Suffolk, cleverly named after an old pit that was used to catch wolves.
That's
very
pretty
literal.
cool.
Yeah, it's a giant pit. Like, okay, I guess why would you want to catch a wolf? Just because like they're
like probably
eating?
killing your livestock, so it's probably
Okay.
such a problem that they have to do something about it.
Okay.
And their thought was to do like a cartoony pit,
just to draw a hole.
Catch them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if it works. All right, so next to this wolf pit, so around 1150, a group of villagers came across two young children with green skin, speaking what they thought was gibberish, and they were acting very nervous. So according to writings at the time by Ralph Corgisill, the children were subsequently taken to the nearby home of Sir Richard de Calne, where he offered them food, but they repeatedly refused to eat. It is also said that they would only eat raw fava beans, so that was like the only thing that they would want to eat. This continued for some days until the children came across some green beans in Sir Richard's garden, which they ate straight out of the ground. So it is thought that the children lived with Richard de Calne for a few years, where he was able to slowly convert them over to normal food. According to the writings of the day, their change in diet led to the children losing their green complexion.
I think I have heard this one.
Have you?
This sounds familiar. Yeah.
Okay, so the children slowly learned to speak English, and once fluent enough, they were asked where they had come from and why their skin was once green. They replied with, "We are inhabitants of the land of St. Martin, who is regarded with peculiar veneration in the country which gave us birth.
What?
We are honored." So we are the inhabitants of the land of St. Martin, who basically like they gave him like honor. Basically like they, I don't know, like great veneration, like they had a great love for him, basically. Like where they're from, land that gave us birth. Yep. We are ignorant of how we arrived here. We only remember this, that on a certain day when we were feeding our father's flocks in the fields, we heard a great sound, such as we are now accustomed to hear at St. Edmund's when the bells are chiming, and whilst listening to the sound of admiration, we became on a sudden, as it were, entranced, and found ourselves among you in the fields where you were reaping. So basically they like heard bells or like a loud sound, and then they basically kind of were like bewitched and were curious of what it was, and just basically ended up where they found them, next to the wolf pit. The sun does not rise upon our countrymen. Our land is little cheered by its beams. We are contented with that twilight which amongst you precedes the sunrise or follows the sunset. Moreover, a certain luminous country is seen not far distant from ours, and divided from it by a very considerable river. So basically saying that like they're always in a twilight kind of zone, and there's no real sunlight. It's either like kind of dusky or dark.
Yeah, sounds like the upside down from Stranger Things.
It does, actually.
Yeah.
So according to one version of the story, the children said that everything in their homeland was green. According to another, the girls said it was called St. Martin's Land. land. Shortly after this, Richard took the children to be baptized at a local church. Sadly, the boy died soon afterwards through an unknown illness. The girl, later known as Agnes, continued to work for Richard for many years, where she was considered to be very wanton and impudent. Or wanton means malicious and reckless, or lacking justification, while impudent means being shamelessly bold, rude, or disrespectful. She later married the Archdeacon of Ely, Richard Barr, according to one report, and the pair had at least one child. Which is kind of interesting that, I don't know, I suppose she probably just, like, was more strong-willed, and she just didn't listen to what they wanted her to do, and so they just kind of...
Probably. Dating those people was difficult.
Mm-hmm. So, who were the Green Children? The most likely explanation for the Green Children of Woolpit was that they were the descendants of Flemish immigrants who had been prosecuted and possibly killed by King Stephen or perhaps King Henry II. Lost and confused and without their parents, the children could have ended up at Woolpit speaking only their native tongue of Flemish. This would explain why the villagers thought they were speaking gibberish. The green
Flemish?
Flemish.
Where's that? Wait, what is that?
Flemish. I don't know how it sounds. Let me Google. Flemish. So Flemish is native to the region known as Flanders in northern Belgium.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I would never have guessed Belgium in my life.
I don't think I would have either.
I honestly would have thought it was just like in England somewhere.
It sounds, yeah. So the green tint to the children's skin would be explained by malnourishment, or more specifically, the green sickness. This theory is supported by the fact that their skin reverted to a normal color once Richard de Klin had continued to feed them full meals. So there is always the more romantic theory that these children arrived from an underground world where the native inhabitants were all green. So that's like, you know, the tinfoil hat conspiracy is that they were from like an actual like alien world.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I suppose like I should probably look up what the green sickness was, but I was thinking like right away it could have been like jaundice or something, or like they had just like a different disease from being, you know, not eating like proteins and stuff, just raba beans.
The raw beans.
Just raw beans. All that. You can turn orange from eating carrots.
Interesting. Okay.
That is a thing.
I learned that. That's new. It's a new thing I didn't know.
Okay. So Google quick says that you're most likely not going to turn green from eating chlorophyll, but you can turn orange from eating too much carrots. Too many carrots. Okay, so the next one we have, and this is the one that I hear all the time on all these like supernatural podcasts I listen to, and from, you know, TV shows and stuff. They are the Black-Eyed Children.
Not the Black-Eyed Peas?
No. Fun fact, when I was Googling like information for this, that's what kept being like automatically filled in the search bar. Yep. What happened to Black-Eyed Peas?
And who are the other members? Will.i.am, Apple the App, and then what's the last? I don't know the last one. See, there we go. There's one more.
Do we need to Google?
I'm looking it up right now. Taboo.
Okay. Oh man, I would not have known. I could get Fergie, but that's it.
I could. Well, that's why she went solo, I think.
Yeah. Have you heard of the Black-Eyed Children at all?
No.
No? Okay.
This is all new.
Okay, good. Very good. This is where it's going to get a little creepier. Okay, so we're going to start off with a little story from an encounter of the Black-Eyed Children. Brian Bethel met the Black-Eyed Children while paying his cable bill in 1996 in Abilene, Texas. After finishing a late-night shift at the local newspaper, he was sitting in his car outside the strip mall, writing a check, and suddenly the hair on the back of his neck stood up. He noticed a group of teenagers standing too close to his car. Too close. The teens asked for a ride to their mother's house to get money for tickets. They wanted to catch a late-night showing at the mall's movie theater, but something struck Bethel as odd. The movie that they had wanted to see already started 45 minutes ago, and the teenagers sounded much older than what they looked like. Then, in the dim light of the parking lot, he saw it. Their eyes were completely black.
Ugh.
He threw his car in reverse and sped away. When he glanced back, the children were gone. Bethel later wrote about his unsettling encounter for the Abilene News Reporter. In decades since, stories about the Black-Eyed Children have cropped up in several countries. Some details change from one account to the next, but scholars and urban legend enthusiasts alike agree that the figures are an example of death personified as a child. These malevolent, otherworldly creatures exploit a widely held belief that children are inherently good and innocent, and once their defenses are lowered, the children's unsuspecting victims allow them inside, inviting death and destruction upon themselves.
Okay.
So author Jason Offutt, who teaches journalism at Northwest Missouri State University, has been researching black-eyed children for more than 10 years. He has interviewed people around the world who claim they have encountered the children. Quote, "Their eyes are like rats' eyes, just black. There's no pupil, there's no white, there's no iris, it's just black." So in the stories, the children usually appear to be school-aged, anything from kindergarten age to high schoolers, and wearing outdated clothing. In one account, the children wore new clothing with the logo of a sports team that had ended 10 years prior. So the children are described as speaking in a monotone voice, more mature than expected for their supposed age. They often repeat the same phrase, and they are extremely insistent on being let inside, whether it's into somebody's house or vehicle. The children plead more innocently at first, asking to make a phone call, use a bathroom, or catch a ride, but eventually they become more aggressive. A key element of the encounters, one that echoes older tales of devils and vampires, is that the children must be invited inside to have any power over an individual. If denied, they eventually disappear or wander off, but not before terrifying their victims. So yeah, basically like the whole, like in almost every encounter you'll like read about or like hear about, it's like I've heard some of like people will be driving and they'll maybe like park for a second to like check their map or something, and like a kid, like a small kid will come up and ask for a ride to their mom's house, and you know, like they'll get like a weird like this is wrong feeling, like your gut just feels gross, and they'll look at the kid and you're like no, like at first they'll be like yeah I'll help you, and then you get that feeling and then they're like no, but they'll keep pushing and pushing and pushing and get like even more and more aggressive towards you, like I need your help, I need to get inside. And then they'll finally look up at you and show you their eyes and they're just black.
Does this happen like recently too? Like, or
Yeah, there's like some recent ones too. But yeah, I'll leave a link in the description if you guys want to check it out. But I found like a web page that has a whole bunch of I would think are true encounters. Again, I can't tell you from like I don't know these people personally, but they say that they are true encounters. So, and I do have one more example at the end of this too. But yeah, they're creepy. I listened to the Monsters Among Us podcast, and he has a lot. He has a lot of encounters that people like call in, like the whole shtick of the Monsters Among Us podcast by Derek Hayes is that like people call in or like write in their true stories, and there's a lot of people that have seen these kids and it's creepy. And like
is it the same kids or is it
no, it's like it's different. So like some people have like said that they look like, a lot of them I think have like blonde hair, I think, but then like the black eyes, but they'll always be wearing, you know, like 80s clothes or like 90s clothes. Like it's never like, it looks more like a costume instead of like what a modern kid would be wearing.
Okay.
And there's some people that like kind of, I don't know if you've heard of like the mirrored men, but that's another cryptid, and they've been like seen together sometimes, or like people will report like missing time, or like they'll be talking to this kid like, and then all of a sudden they'll be like an hour later and it just felt like a few minutes. So yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff and there's a lot of encounters with these things and it's really creepy.
Interesting.
So we don't know what they want once they get inside, and that makes them all the more terrifying. According to the unlucky folks that fell for the trap and let the children in, catastrophes such as fatal car accidents and cancer diagnoses follow in the children's wake. They're liminal in the sense that they're children, but not quite, Burke says, an adjunct professor of religion at Montclair State University. There's an uncanniness there because they sort of look like something that we expect, but they are not. She adds, in myth, children are supposed to represent a new beginning, a new possibility, a new birth. That's not what these are. Burke says that one of her friends experienced a black-eyed child pounding on her door at 3 a.m., long before she had ever heard of the figures. And then, like, do you know the significance of 3 a.m., Kendra? It's like, no? Okay. So
no.
So 3 a.m. is like the witching hour. It's supposed to be like when the veil is the thinnest. And I think what some people think is like, because you know, like the Holy Trinity is three figures, like Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. So it's kind of like the devil mocking the Holy Trinity kind of a thing. So that's when like all like the ghosts and spirits are like the most prevalent, and like all these beings can be seen.
I did not know that. I thought that the witching hour was like midnight or something.
I think that is kind of too. Do you want to know something creepy? So, you know how like we had our duplex in college, right? And how we used to stay up, and I used to stay up like past 3 a.m. a lot of nights. There was a lot of times starting at 3 a.m. where the light switch near the front door would make clicking sounds. It would stop like, you know, probably like 4 a.m. But like it'd start at like right around 3 a.m. and start clicking, making creepy noises. Yep.
It's dead college students haunting you.
Oh, Dang it. It's all those dead squirrels, you know. Okay. So the black-eyed children are not the only malevolent creatures masquerading as the vulnerable. Irish folklore warns of changelings, fairy babies swapped with humans. In some Native American traditions, particularly around California's Lake Tahoe and Nevada's Pyramid Lake, water babies are evil spirits, or sometimes merely overzealous guardians, whose cries lure people to their deaths. Kind of like sirens. So like the black-eyed children, these much older folklore figures take advantage of our desire to help smaller and more helpless beings than we are. So Bethel's tale of the parking lot encounter nearly 30 years ago was the first known mention of the black-eyed children. However, it is thought that the sightings had been reported as early as the 1980s. The creepy concept has spread like ghostly wildfire online, even as hard evidence remains elusive. So it's like one of those things too, kind of like when people try to, like, they claim that they saw, like UFOs and like either like the footage is deleted or whatever. That's a lot like what it is. It's like, plus it's like usually when it happens, you're caught off completely off guard. So like you usually don't think to pull up your camera.
You wouldn't be recording something already.
Yeah. I'll have to look. I haven't checked, I guess, like if there's been like, like the Ring cameras and stuff, because I wonder if anyone's seen that. That'd be interesting. I don't want to look at it because that'd be creepy, but
Those Ring cameras are popular.
Oh, yes. Yes, they are. So no one knows where or how these creatures pop up. Conspiracy theorists believe that black-eyed children are aliens trying to reach out to their Earth. Demonologists believe that they are children of the devil himself, and if you let them in, you are allowing the devil enter your life. They want to enter your home to call their parents. However, upon making eye contact, it seems that there is a much sinister plot to the story. So yeah, don't let them inside.
That's creepy.
It's really creepy. So another one of the more well-known of the stories goes like this. In the snowy town within the middle of nowhere in Vermont, an elderly couple heard the sound of 3 loud knocks on their door. Again with the 3 thing. I think it's like mocking the Holy Trinity. That's typically what people believe it is. They opened the door and saw 2 children, a boy and a girl. They said, "Parents will be here soon. May we come in?" The children did not make eye contact and just stood there in the doorway. The elderly couple were hesitant, but after a while, they let the boy and girl inside. The kids settled down on the couch while the wife made some hot cocoa, and the husband asked them questions that went unanswered. The wife returned and noticed that her cat was scared and angry with the children. They said, "May we please use the restroom?" The wife looked at the kids and finally saw them. The children's eyes were as black as a starless universe. She directed them to the bathroom and returned to her husband, who was covering his face with his hand. "Did you see their eyes?" The husband then showed her his hand full of blood from a nosebleed. The power suddenly went out and the house turned as dark as a kid's eyes. The wife headed to the restroom and was confronted by the voice of the kids at the end of the hall uttering, "Our parents are here." The kids then exited the house, leaving the door wide open. The wife then noticed that there were 2 men at the end of the driveway. The men were very tall and slender. The wife waved at them, but did not receive the same friendly gesture. The 2 men and the children then drove away together in one car. The power then came on a little later after the kids left. Throughout the next week, weird things happened to the house. 3 of the 4 cats went missing, and the 4th had been found dead in the pool of its blood. The husband continued to have nosebleeds and finally went to the doctor, where he was diagnosed with a very aggressive skin cancer. The legend even crossed the bodies of water and landed in the great land of the UK, where in 2014, the Daily Star wrote 3 front-page stories about sightings of the black-eyed children in the haunted pub in Staffordshire. Ghost hunters who believed that the black-eyed children were extraterrestrials, vampires, or ghosts took these alleged sightings very seriously. Nowadays, people still claim to see the black-eyed children when driving late at night down an empty road, or even looking in the shadows of their own room. Many people have reported seeing the black-eyed kids standing in the corner of their room during their episodes of sleep paralysis, or even waking up in the middle of the night because they sensed someone was watching them. In the shadows were these children. Did you want to hear any more encounter stories, or?
Oh my goodness, this is pretty eerie. So they're like sleep paralysis demons?
Kind of, that's one theory, yeah. But yeah, just a warning, if anyone sees or hears like any monotone kids that come to your door at 3 a.m., do not let them in. Yeah, that story I'd heard before. I don't remember where, but I'd heard it before. And I'm wondering too, like if the parents, like the 2 men, were the mirrored men. Those are a different cryptid. Where basically it's like usually 3 men, 2 or 3 men that are exactly the same, move exactly the same, and like it's really creepy. But they're kind of correlated somehow.
Is that like, are they slender men, or what is the thing? Like,
well, they look like humans, but like they don't act like humans because they're like basically identical twins that move at the same time. Like if they turn to look at you, their heads will move at the same time. And like, yeah, or like if they walk, they're like the same canter, like the same, you know, like footsteps and stuff. It's really weird. And again, it's like one of those things where people will like see a car broken down in the side of the road and they'll pull over to help them, and it's these mirrored men, and like they'll move really like creepily, like in sync. And they like, then there's like lost time, so people like will be there for what they thought was like 5 minutes, and it turned out to be like 3 hours. And people are like, "Where are you?" They call them, and they'd be like, "Where are you?" You know, stuff like that. There's a lot of creepy stuff,
Do they
but
know? Do they have theories on why there's like lost time and stuff like that, or?
no, no one really knows if it was like a time loop, or if like some people think it was like maybe they were abducted by aliens, and then like this was like a cover thing. That is like a theory of like why there's lost time. It's like if you talk to different creatures, you know, like if people come across you, like maybe they'll see like a Sasquatch or see like a mirrored men. People think that maybe that's like a cover up of like you were abducted by aliens and experimented on for a couple hours, but like in your mind you just saw yourself encountering this other creature instead of like when you were abducted. It's just kind of like a cover story. That's what some people's theory. Or owls. Some people will report that even like they'll look at owls and like be missing time. For some reason, like extraterrestrials are connected with owls, and I don't really know why, but that's just
Why?
a common thing.
Not snakes, just owls?
Just owls. But yeah, I'll leave a link if you guys want to read through any other stories of black-eyed children. There's 16 in this other article. So yeah, alrighty. Thank you so much for joining us, Wanderers, for another episode of Spooktober 2025. We hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions for any future episodes, please feel free to email us at fwplisteners@gmail.com.
And as always, new episodes of the FWP are released to wherever you get your podcasts from, including this place that you're listening to right now.
Yes. Alright, Wanderers, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.